Well, it seems that a door is the new indie darling that everyone is flocking to. Many are hailing this game as being innovative, with a giant step in the right direction when it comes to creature capturing games. Well, let's sit down, relax, and take a look at a door. So this story takes place in a fantastical land known as Gatordrick. We're immediately introduced to two gods who have had enough of each other's crap, Draknar and Ixnar. Now, these two heavyweights have quite a battle, with Ixnar being the one who's left standing. As many of Dragnar's adorers mourn his loss, his death is yet to be finalized, as a small flame of the deceased god yet burns in a young summoner by the name of Luca. And as you can guess, this is where we take hold of the summoner and try to exact revenge on Ixnar. But before we even worry about that, we need to become proficient in monster battling and capturing, as this is really where this game takes off and so much of the gameplay really opens up. Now, as Luca, we can control up to 4 monsters at a time out on the battlefield, each one correlating to each button on your Joy-Con, X, Y, A, B, with 2 other incredible actions being dodging, which is your right bumper, and LZ that works as a recall for all of your monsters, and this becomes very important as the battles go on. You see, because sometimes you will be up against a blessed creature or a super blessed creature, and the best thing to do is to let your monsters get like a good jab or 2 in and then recall them back, because watching their HP is paramount to your success. You see, they don't die when they run out of HP, they become cursed, and when they become cursed, you take all the damage that they would receive. This usually ends your run really quick. Now, the only way to become uncursed, or cleansed if you will, is to take them back to the sanctuary and leave them there for a while. In that time, you can either be left without monsters, or be in a position where maybe your best fighter, or someone you put in a lot of time into, is, well, on the bench, so to speak. This situation is usually quickly rectified, but the thing is if you ended up dying on your last run, all of your money and items that you collected are laying there in a Dark Souls fashion for you to collect, but you only have 1 turn to try. So if your most proficient monster isn't there, this fight becomes way more difficult. But there's more to this game than just pure brute, as you can spend a lot of time customizing your monsters, upgrading your monsters, there's even a small skill tree, or you can also create synergy between them, meaning that when 2 of them share synergy and they are both out on the battlefield, new abilities will become available to them. Having a fully staffed team is also really important as well, but finding new monsters is not the easiest thing, as you can't just buy particles, which are incredibly important as they work as this world's Pokeballs, if you will. You have to have a certain amount for a certain class of monster. There's 3 classes, with each class requiring a different amount of particles. Now, that's only the first obstacle that we must overcome. Actually, capturing these little guys is not easy either, as you have to hold down the L button and an AoE will pop up. You have to stay inside of this AoE to stay tethered to the monster and to capture them. Now, as that sounds easy, let me tell you, this is the opportunity for me to explain how I died the most, which was trying to capture monsters. The monsters move around, they shield that AoE, it is incredibly difficult to stay in there with some of them. Although don't worry, because your first 4 are rather easy to get. There is the off chance that you'll find monsters, like in chests and stuff. That happened to me a few times, which kind of surprised me as I wasn't paying attention to what I was collecting, and then when I'd get through a run, I'd be like, oh hey, I got a new creature. But that's kind of the thing. This game, I would say, doesn't require, but it helps if you grind quite a bit. And if you do a lot of these different runs, which is what I did, I ended up building up my team pretty strongly, as I really found a lot of the meat of this game inside of getting scrolls. Now, scrolls let you go on these like special side quests, if you will. They're high risk, high reward. You're usually up against like super blessed legendary creatures, but it is so worth it and so much fun. And as where I would say like a typical run going through, some of the available levels is over before it starts, it seems like. But with these high risk, high reward side quests, they seem to last a little bit longer and just seem to be a bit more fulfilling. Part of the reason that I decided to do some level grinding, if you will, or exploring, or just running over the same levels over and over, is because when I first met the initial boss, your very first legendary creature, he kicked my butt. He kicked my butt hard. That difficulty spike was something I was not expecting. And really, when faced with him, I realized that tactics are more important in this game. That your managing of your creature's resources and their life, so to speak, is really important. All of these things start to become important, and the idea of overall strategy becomes paramount, as in the regular levels where you're just fighting other little monsters, it's pretty much hack and slash. You don't have to worry that much, but when you run into a boss or a legendary creature, as they call it, or a creature that is blessed or super blessed, yeah, strategy matters a lot. And so I really wanted to get my head around that, and so I ended up grinding a lot, just learning different tactics and the ways that, like, what monsters felt best for me and my team and how that synergy could work best. This ended up being something that I think was a good thing and a bad thing, as I got more proficient with my team and I was able to customize them and create synergy that I really wanted and to level them up and all of that. But most of the actual game wasn't as difficult for me as I've seen a lot of people say it is, but I think it's just because I spent hours grinding and just having a lot of fun doing that. Which that leads to one thing for me that was a bit of a negative, is the content. There isn't a lot of content, and I could see where many would agree that this game gets repetitive after a while, as it sort of is just the same thing over and over. But let me assure you that once you get an idea of a strategy you want to run, or ways to maximize your artifacts, or even ways you want to create synergy in your monsters, like, that becomes its own game that is just really entertaining and something that I really enjoyed. But again, I could have done with a few more levels, or just like a little bit more content would have been nice, and I think that that's where this game does have a really good first step. Now, visuals, performance, there was a few visual issues that I had with the game. Namely, when you actually see the characters, and you can do this during like loading screens and stuff like that, I'm incredibly impressed with the visuals, art design, the details when they tell the story in that comic book kind of narrative. But in the actual gameplay, I say there's a little bit to be desired, but honestly, it still looks really good and performs really well. I never really had any issues. It can be difficult, especially when you're reviewing games for the Switch, because, well, there's just some stuff we have to get used to, because, well, this is like almost a 7-year-old console, so we're used to it not looking like a PS4 or something, but it does look really good, and I think that this translates well from Steam to the Nintendo Switch. Whatever they did to take the time to port that over, well, that was worth it in my opinion. Now, as far as the value, now this for me is always the difficult one, because I understand that a value to me is going to mean something different to you, and everyone's going to have their own interpretation of what is valuable and how much is worth what. So I have to take a step back, but I have to say this too. I did not receive a code for this game. This isn't sponsored. Well, it is sponsored by my wife, so I actually paid the money for this game. Well, she did. I have to say that for me, this is one of those games that is a solid maybe 6 to 10 hours of gameplay that I actually prefer over something that's overinflated and not really as entertaining or as fun. Like, there are some battles in here that are just really fun, epic, over the top, all of those things that we really enjoy. And for this coming in at around $20, I think you definitely get your value here. So overall, I would say that Adore is a really fun game, and I agree with what a lot of other people are saying. This was a much needed shakeup in this sort of genre where everything had kind of become stale and basically just followed the Pokemon route. I really appreciated them going to the lengths that they did to separate themselves from other games that are in the same genre and giving you a different type of gameplay. That almost Diablo style of gameplay really did feel right, and it just felt more fun and more engaging than I would say some of the turn-based monster catching games do. Now, I'm not to say like they're all bad or anything, I'm just saying that it's nice to have something different, and that's what this game offers. So for me, if I had to put a number score on it, I would give it a solid 8.5 out of 10, and I hope this is only the first step, because a sequel is something that I'm going to be looking forward to for a while. After I see that the groundwork that they laid down in this one, I'd say the sky's the limit on the next one. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you picking this game up? Are you interested in this game? Is there another game that you're really interested in the month of August? Yes, we're already at August. It's hard to believe. There's so many games coming out all the time, so let me know which ones you're interested in, or maybe just what good game you picked up that was on sale that you're really enjoying. Anything and everything in the comment section down below is incredibly appreciated. I love each and every one of y'all. Take care.